Are you curious about printed versus hand painted versus stitch painted needlepoint? There's obviously a big price difference between the three, so let me show you some examples, and I'd love to hear what you guys love to stitch, but you can make your own decision on what works for you because the finished product always looks beautiful. Starting off with this printed canvas, this is old school printing and there's definitely better technology, and I've heard some of the new printed canvases are amazing and almost as good as hand painted or stitch painted, so I'd love to hear from you if you've done that type of project. But the biggest issue is really that sometimes the alignment gets a little messed up, so you can even see like past the border of where this canvas is supposed to end, colors keep printing, and then within the canvas itself, like in these gradient areas, it's not exactly clear what intersection which color goes where, so you have to make a lot of creative choices. And I would say that's actually pretty similar to hand painted, where these are things that were painted onto the canvas by hand but not designed to match up with specific intersections necessarily. A lot of times it works out, but I will say I've done the draft, but on the spots I kind of just eyeballed it. A lot of intersections weren't totally clear and I made decisions that worked there. And then here's a good example where you can see they painted the seagull in, but it doesn't perfectly match up with intersections, or even some of these gradient colors. I'll have to make some artistic choices there as well. Personally, honestly, I would pick printed most of the time over hand painted because you're making the same amount of creative decisions, but the price point's a lot lower. And then last is stitch painted, which is also painted by hand, but it's designed to align each intersection matches up with one color and is painted that way, so it's really easy for you to follow. So this is obviously a less detailed example, but if you look at the tortoiseshell, it's always clear which stitch color goes where. You're never guessing because it's blending in really well or anything like that. There's a key here that you can use. There's not always a key, but it definitely is pretty frequently painted on there so that you know, okay, I'm gonna need 3 colors of brown, and then you can match up each shade and stitch accordingly. And if you're a beginner or someone who just likes mindless stitching, I find stitch painted to be the easiest to do for sure. But if you're someone who's really creative, loves art, and has done other sort of arts projects outside of needlepoint and is just getting into it, and you're fine making those creative choices, go for printed or hand painted and see what you can do, because at the end of the day, the end product will look the same as long as it's on the same type of canvas and you can finish it however you want.